man.
What's happening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Unparalleled Sports Talk with yours, Kwame Fisher Jones. As always, I am him, talking NFL. So I'm joined by my man Chris Franklin of NJ.com. What's good, Chris?
Nothing much, man. Draft week is finally here, and in
Yes,
life this
yes.
week, heck,
Well, you're excited though. You told me right before I stormed on air that you were excited about the Flyers hockey. Yay!
yeah. Hey, listen, I do like hockey. It's the only sport you can fight 3 times before you're kicked out, besides boxing and everything else. I'm like, all right, might as well like that. And been following since like '97, so yeah, man. Yeah.
Listen, you will never ever get me to cheer for hockey. And actually, I covered the Stanley Cup Finals when the Anaheim Ducks won years ago, like years ago.
Jaguar.
Yeah, they beat the Detroit Red Wings. And
Yeah.
hockey translates great live. It doesn't translate well on TV, but it's great live. Best cookies I ever had in the press box. But I still will not watch a hockey game, man. I'm so good. I remember a long time ago, Mike Missinelli was trying to get people to like hockey. It was crazy. But anyway, speaking of things that don't translate well, Minnesota Vikings wide receiver Justin Jefferson. I didn't even, I gotta go back to this, and maybe it's me, maybe it's my life. I got my life be lifing. I had no idea Kyler Murray was on the Minnesota Vikings. When
Yeah.
did that happen?
I want to say it was about I want to say it was like 3 weeks ago, 2, 3 weeks
Okay,
now. And
yeah,
yeah, it was crazy. I'm like, he's
yeah,
there
beyond
now, but
crazy, man.
yeah,
So anyway,
yeah.
Justin Jefferson, star wide receiver for the Minnesota Vikings, and arguably one of the best wide receivers in the game. I definitely think he's top 5 receivers in the game.
Yeah.
Made a comment that I don't think is being focused on enough. People are kind of picking with it, but with all the NBA playoffs and the draft coming up, people are kind of just letting it go. So when asked about Kyler Murray, he said he was excited that Kyler Murray would be able to make a lot of plays that J.J. McCarthy could. He also said that first round pick, privileged starter, incumbent starter, whatever you want to call him, J.J. McCarthy, it's good that he'll feel the pressure of having Kyler Murray behind him. Now, I'm not the hottest nugget in the box. You know, I'm not the saltiest French fry in the box. But that sounds like he's seen Kyler Murray to me. Which begs the question: is guys coming in for his third season? Correct me if I'm wrong. First season he missed because he was hurt. The guy that replaced him just won a Super Bowl. Interesting. And then he gets replaced by the former first, and now he's got the former first overall pick in the draft in his quarterback room, with beside him one of the biggest disappointments to be taken in the top 5 pick quarterback Carson Wentz in the same room. Is it me or is it too early to say J.J. McCarthy's days are numbered as a Minnesota Viking? What say you?
I thought his days were numbered at the end of the season when the season was over, because there's no way you could put him back out there and think you had a chance to win. Now I
Really?
know there's a lot of quarterbacks that you can come back. They like we're seeing like Sam Darnold and some of these guys. It takes some time to do that, but at least with you when you see those guys, they at least do one thing very well. Like at least with Darnold, he can at least move around, escape enough, and you think he's going to be
it was
fine.
a, it was a
Now,
long pause there, Chris. That was a long
yeah,
pause there.
yeah,
He can
yeah. It was,
uh he can uh he can uh he can
but that go.
yeah, yeah, he can move along well. Yeah, okay. Go ahead.
That's the thing is when you look at JJ McCarthy, I just don't see it. I don't know why he was taken 10th overall. I didn't like him. I thought he was a late first round, maybe a second round type guy that you can let become a backup. Anywho, you could see it was Justin Jefferson was thinking this for a long time last year, because the ball with the touch, you look at the touchdown numbers, and we know about wide receivers. You look at the touchdown numbers. You look at the times when he was open, and JJ McCarthy just went the other way with the ball. And you're looking at this like, and it's festering him. And a guy of Justin Jefferson caliber should not be in that position on a team that really, I know they have Addison, but to me, it's still, and Addison is decent. He's still the guy. And the fact you can't get him the ball is just awful. And you look at Kyler Murray, those off schedule plays, the arm action. The thing with him is you just got to make sure that he's focused.
Mm.
And when he's focused because he's going in there. He just got traded. He got ousted by Jacoby Brissett, and now he knows that this is his last chance to be a proven starter in this league. And also, oh yeah, Kevin O'Connell. to me, I don't care what anybody says. To me, he's on the hot seat.
You think so?
Knowing that, I think so. Yeah,
Wow.
especially you see the Packers, you see the Lions, you see these teams in the division, and you can't make headway. Your best team that you had, you get flamed out in the wild card round in 24. You look at all this stuff, and you're just like, yeah, I think this is the year he has to prove that he can rebuild it. Because I think as the season goes along, they don't make the playoffs. I think he's really on that. But yeah, Kyler Murray gives him the best chance to win. JJ McCarthy is at best a number two, a career number two in this league. I'm sorry.
Wow. Wow. After one season.
Oh,
After one season.
even before then, he's just an intangibles guy. That's what everybody was talking about when he came out in the league. His intangible. He's a winner from
He's a
Michigan and
winner.
all that stuff. Like, okay,
Okay.
no,
I I understand everything you're saying about JJ McCarthy, but when did Kyler Murray become good? I'm just curious. Like I'm just asking for a friend. When did Kyler Murray become that guy? Because he was a
me.
guy, and now he's in Minnesota. He's that guy. Yes, he's a former first overall pick that has played less than 10 years in the league and is now on his second team and has missed a season. Correct me if I'm wrong because of injury. Had a team his team that drafted him was hesitant to give him a long-term extension. He didn't have any playoff success. When did he become that guy? To me, he's, no pun intended, the micro version of JJ McCarthy in the sense that both of them are unproven. Both of them have intangibles. They do things that normal quarterbacks or your standard NFL quarterbacks may not do. And one of those things that standard quarterbacks do is win. And neither one of those dudes win. So I get everything you're saying. And I love Justin Jefferson's, vote of confidence. But my man, you might want to visit ProFootballReference.com and check out those wins and losses for my man Kyler Murray. Who I affectionately refer to as a DEI quarterback. In jest, just joking. He's being silly, but the point is, like, this dude is definitely not that guy. He's a guy, but not that guy. So I don't think I get where the change, where they want him, where Justin Jefferson would be excited because Kyler Murray can make the explosive plays. So can Anthony Richardson. So can Anthony Richardson. And exactly that face right there. Like, what are we talking about here? So and as far as Kevin O'Connor being on the hot seat, I think that's an interesting take, only because the Chicago Bears played well last year. They overachieved. I won't say they overachieved, but they went far in the playoffs. Green Bay Packers did. Detroit Lions did. And the Minnesota Vikings did. I don't know if his division has run away from him enough for him to be held accountable. Follow me here. If they were running away, like if the Seattle Seahawks were in that division and they won the Super Bowl, then that'd be an issue. If the Los Angeles Rams were in that division and they were in their second NFC title game and, headed to possibly 3 Super Bowls, then I could see that happening. When your competition is biting kneecaps, I kind of feel like your position is solidified. I think he's a few years away from being on a hot seat. Floor is yours.
Well, I think it's also I'll go back to Murray first because we've always talked about bad organizations, and you look at who the Cardinals have had a head coach. Now, I'll be first to admit that I thought there was a couple of years there where I thought they can actually break through and at least make the playoffs. Boy, was I wrong on that.
Yeah, I
But
remember
you
those
look at it,
conversations.
yeah.
I remember those conversations.
Oh, it was bad. It was bad. But then I also look at the fact that you didn't have a bona fide number one, in my opinion, and you just drafted the guy Marvin Harrison Jr., who's had injury issues of his own, so he really didn't get time to do that. I still think you need. I still remember the at least even when you go back. I know I was going back to college, but even with Lincoln Riley, you look what Kyler could do, and you saw the first few years of what Kyler could do in the system, and then I think he just got shell shocked and he got hit, and he realized he was in a losing organization. When you go to at least a team that's a little bit better and a much better run organization, I mean, when you look at the NFLPA report cards, the Vikings are always mentioned as one of the best organizations in the league there. So I think he gets there with a little bit extra motivation, and I think he could turn that thing around. I just look at when it comes to JJ McCarthy, I don't know. But when it comes to Kevin O'Connell, I agree with you. I think like if when you look at the Bears, yeah, that's tough. And yeah, they might have a shot at being better this year because I think they have the NFC South, so that can help improve the record. I honestly think the whoever wins the North could seriously have a good run at being like the 1 or 2 seed and have substantial positioning just because of the way the matchups are, sort of schedules are out, but we at least know the team. So I think they'll be fine there. But even then, I don't. It's just I think to get itchy, they're going to have a new general manager soon. So general manager's going to want his guy if there's no success. So the only protection that was between Kevin O'Connell and ownership is gone. If they don't show any type of improvement, if they don't show do if this thing goes off the rails, he might be an OC somewhere next year.
That'd be interesting. I want to go. I want to stay on that. I want to stay at that light of Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray's been in the league 7 years, and I wanted to fact check this before I went on the air with this. He's never thrown more than 25 touchdowns in a season. His highest touchdown season was 20. Excuse me, was 26, and that was his second year in the league when they won 9 games, or when they won 8 games. His highest win total was 9 games. He's got a record of 38 and 48. Maybe the organization can help. He's got a good completion percentage. He's in the high 60s, which tells you he can make good decisions. But the wins losses matter to me. The lack of touchdowns matter to me. I know you say he didn't have a number one threat, but it seems like, and he's played a good amount of games too. He only had 2 seasons where he played less than like 11 games. So I'd take shots at him, but he's been fairly durable throughout his career. I don't know, Chris, man. I just feel like McCarthy's not the answer, but it's a multiple choice question, and Kyler ain't the answer either. Carson Wentz ain't the answer, so we got to find out who D is. We got to get another person in there and make them the answer because I don't believe Kyler's the answer. I get the last word in the segment deal.
And thanks for jogging my memory. And this is why I can add this in the defense of Kyler Murray. You know who his coach was and play caller was the first part of his career, Cliff Kingsbury.
Yeah.
And you look at the continued when you see Cliff Kingsbury's offense, what happens to it? That first year when he makes a change and everything, yeah, it looks great. We saw the NFC Championship game. That second year, it dipped. The third year, that's why I feel bad for Jaden Daniels. I can see him. I have faith in him.
Yeah, bad. Kevin O'Connor's gonna wind up being Jaden Daniels OC. That's what you're telling me. That's what you're telling me.
It's gonna be bad. It's gonna be bad. I feel bad for Jaden Daniels, but I'm not. I think Kyler Murray has a lot of good football left in him. Right. I just do. With the right coaching, they got something, and then he can get paid again.
And the one thing they got in the NFC North is they don't have good defenses. So they got solid defense, but they don't have great defenses in there. So if now is the time if it's gonna happen. All right, I want to get you out on this. It seems like ESPN is hell bent on getting AJ Brown out of Philly. It feels as if they're invested emotionally in getting AJ Brown out of Philly. I want to ask you this question. Just seriously, all jokes aside. Does AJ Brown want out of Philly? Does he want out of Philly? Is that what it is?
I'll start with this. I was at 1.75%. He wasn't moving. Then I was down to 55. I might be at 45 because when you have a player and you tell them, hey, and he doesn't show up for these mini camps. Now, granted, they're all voluntary, but we know in the NFL, voluntary is mandatory.
Yeah.
He's not even going in to learn the system or what have you. I think it's one of those things where I think there's substantial movement. The fact that they don't want to get hurt. And listen, I know today that other report came out today saying likely he's going to the Patriots. And a whole likely thing, it's basically stuff we've heard for weeks upon weeks upon weeks. It's like, wow, let's when you break apart a thing, what have we heard? Well, he's probably going to be traded if he traded before June 1st. That's just common sense because no team is going to take a $43 million cap hit when they can wait and then stay for dinner. So man, it missed me with that whole they can get draft picks for 2026. I'm not taking extra first round pick in a 2026 draft. No. I just think overall, I still think there's a viable chance I think now he is gone. And the
Does he
way the
want to
dots,
go though?
I
Is it
think he
he
does.
wants to be traded? Okay. Okay.
Because I think it's one of those things where he's looking at his numbers the last few years. And I don't know, and even with, you keep changing this offense, you keep doing everything else, his numbers are down. And knowing from him for a few years, he really wants to be known as one of like the top five, top 10 receivers of all time. And the way that this offense is going backwards in the passing game statistically, that's hampering his chances of being a Hall of Famer. That's his goal. He wants to be a Hall of Famer. And the way you're looking at this, the way where
Really?
I think he believes that he can has to go elsewhere. I'm not sold on Drake May being a guy. They're already talking about rumors about Keishawn Booty being traded if he goes that way. He's supposedly on the trade. There's rumors about him being on trade block during the draft here. You're, I know that's the Patriots are his favorite team. I think for him, the
Why is the
smart
Patriots
move.
his favorite team?
He's growing up. I forget the man, but he said growing up, the Patriots were always his favorite team. I don't know if it's Brady. That's why I used to always see it. It was kind of interesting before a lot of games. It wasn't just last year, it was before 23 when Brady was an analyst. He'd always have a catch with Brady because growing up, he was always a Patriots fan. He just was. So I'm looking at this now. I just see if he was smart, I would ask to go to the Ravens. If he had any inkling of if he say he had the way to say, hey, we got if they ever gave him the option, and I don't know if they do it, but maybe they do it because he helped win a Super Bowl. He's been a big part of this franchise and helping the success this players in years. If they say, here I got on the table, you can go back with Vrabel, who you know very well. You could work with Drake May. You'll be in the cold of Boston, the windy and all that stuff, which may affect your passing stats, by the way. So you have
A
that.
little bit. A little bit.
Or you can go with the Ravens, where they're built. You have your yeah.
Perfect. Just a tiny little bit. Just a tiny little bit.
Yeah, just a bit. Or you go to Ravens, we got Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry. You reunite with Derrick Henry. I know it's a rookie head coach in Jesse Minter. Granted, that's a big part. But you're built to be a major contender in the AFC if you go there.
Okay. I'm going to back up a little bit. First, you want to go to the Ravens because they got Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. You got Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts. Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts got them rings, got a ring. Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson don't. So what we talking about here? Like what we going with? That's who you going with? That's who you think is a better option? As far as I'm wanting to be a Hall of Famer, numbers and wins aren't comparable in the Hall of Fame. Name me wide receivers that are on two Super Bowl contending teams, one championship team, or better yet, I'll do one. Name me a wide receiver that's got two Super Bowl rings because the Eagles will be a Super Bowl contender, and the likelihood of them winning a Super Bowl is probably more probable than the New England Patriots. But let's just play with what we got right now. Name me wide receivers that have been to two Super Bowls that aren't in the Hall of Fame, winning one. Just and I'll give you a second. I think Andre Reed was possibly the last holdout, and he never won one. Normally, if you participated in two Super Bowls and you were a big time player, you'll get into the Hall of Fame. I don't understand why he would want to leave, but I long have said this and I've lived this mantra in my life. I live it through sports. I don't believe in hostages. You want people who want to be with you. You want people who want to be there. If someone wants to leave, then let them go. It may hurt when they leave, but you're better off without them trying to always appease them or trying to always keep them happy, um, trying to give them whatever they're missing. Jalen Hurts, I don't want to say Stephen A. Smith made a great point. He said Jalen, this should go back to Jalen Hurts. I don't think it should go back to Jalen Hurts, but I do feel like there's something going on there and it doesn't make any sense. And I hope Jalen Hurts, and I'm going to use a word I learned in therapy today, is hyper aware of the fact that him and AJ Brown were cool before he got there. Donovan McNabb and Terrell Owens were cool before Terrell got there. The next wide receiver can't be your man. Like he can't be your people's. It got to be a dude that you just come in and have a working relationship with, and that you kick it with from time to time. But you can't be because for some reason they hold you to a different standard than everybody else. Because AJ Brown wet the bed in the playoff game, point blank period, PBP. He wet the bed in the playoff game. He plays better, more than likely they win. So for that to be his last game as an Eagle and him to be okay with that, peace. Go that way. My man, go that way. Because I don't think it can be saved. I'll give the final 2 minutes to you.
I think he was. I think he. Well, that report came out that he already wanted to be traded. He asked for a trade, and it just got worse and worse. And I think it was a little bit of everything. I think it was the frustration that he had. I think it's the fact that they didn't target him or didn't make significant changes during the season to rectify that offense, because there was a lot of things that were starting to cropping up, and he was the first one, and he was right. He said, you look at the thing, they were spamming the hitch routes. They were spamming as they say, hitch or go. And with him, he's got his talent that he can do that with too. I think a little bit like this is like third hand stuff here, what stuff you're reading as well too, about the fact that he and Hurts are alphas, and they weren't talking. It's like almost like they let the problem fester without talking, and then they finally talked. They got a little bit better towards the end, but by then I think it was too late. He always was on his mind like I gotta get out of here. So I'll say that I still think I think it's still a decent chance if the Eagles don't get what they want, that he comes back and they put the ball in his court saying, "Listen, you play for us, or you can sit out." I still think
Yeah, I
that's
don't like that. I don't
but
like
I
that.
think something tells me somebody's going to give up a first and a second, give them what they want, especially after the Jalen Waddle trade. I think somebody does offer that. And the 2027 pick, we all know that those draft class can be better. I think the Eagles do that, and that's why we see Devontae Smith become the new number one, Wicks the new number two, and you hope Elijah Moore and Hollywood Brown supplement that what you lose with AJ.
I think that's enough. If the Eagles are poised for a big year, that's just Hurts is like that Tim Duncan personality. Every other year they compete for a title. Every other year they have success and then they haven't done it. So, all right. Final word. I love what you said. They're both alphas. I don't believe they're both alphas. I think Hurts is a leader. I believe Hurts is a leader. Hurts is an alpha. Hurts is a strong personality. I feel like AJ Brown, and I'm an AJ Brown fan. I think he believes he's better than what he is. And I don't know what happened in Tennessee. I don't know what's happening in Philly, and I don't know what's going to happen wherever he goes. But if the goal is to win, he's in the best position to do that. And sometimes the organization you go to is toxic and it doesn't work out for you, but you have success in that toxic environment. And that leads you to believe that you somehow are better than what you really are. But when you have success in a good organization and you maximize your opportunities, that's when you know that's when you know you're one of the greats. And I just don't think he is. I think for me, his playoff performance solidified that for me. And I would have wanted him to come back if he was a not true alpha, but if he was wired the way the Eagles needed him to be wired, he'd come back ready to get chomped at the bit. The fact that he wanted to leave and is mentally checked out or wanted to leave and was upset to dig in, I can relate to that. But you still got to produce on the field, and he didn't do that. That's where it matters. You got to produce on the field, and regardless of everything that's going on out there, between those white lines, you got to be the very best. And Jalen Hurts, game in and game out, made mistakes, but you never question where his head was. I feel like at times with AJ Brown, we often, not at times, all the time with Jalen Browns, we question where his head was. And that's not an alpha to me. That's it for this episode of Unparalleled Sports Talk. If you like the podcast, make sure you share, comment, subscribe, whatever your podcast platform allows you to do. He is Chris Franklin. I'm Kwame Fisher Jones. Until next week, we appreciate your time and year. You be easy.